Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Jar of Marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles.
And I'm Bob.
Hello, Bob. It's good to see you.
Yes, it is. Nice to see you too.
Thank you, Bob. This week, I wanted to talk a little bit about social intelligence. There are a multitude of perspectives in any one subject. So, social intelligence is the ability to understand and navigate social situations, effectively manage relationships, and respond to others with empathy and tact. It encompasses a range of skills that enable someone to perceive social cues, interpret emotions, and adapt their behaviour to create positive social interactions.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Okay, Bob, let's talk more about social intelligence for a minute. Now, social intelligence is basically knowing how to behave in social situations without accidentally setting off a chain reaction of awkwardness.
Oh, yeah, righto. Like trying to navigate a minefield or something.
Yeah, except instead of minds, you've got unspoken rules that don't make that joke. And yes, people do notice when you're the one holding the conversation hostage at the party.
Oh, yeah.
It's the ability to understand what people are thinking, even when they're not saying it out loud. And honestly, if you're good at it, you're basically a human lie detector with a PhD in reading the room.
You have one of those.
Maybe. But here's the kicker. Social intelligence isn't about being a mind reader. It's about knowing when not to read someone's mind. For example, you've ever been in one of those situations where you ask someone, how are you? And you immediately realise they've started crying in the middle of your greeting. Yeah, that's a moment when social intelligence is saying, abort. That's right. You have no idea what you've just walked into. And then there's the people who take it way too far. They can read every micro expression, every twitch in your eye, and then casually tell you, you're not fooling anyone with that fake smile. And I'm like, bro, I didn't even know my face was doing that. Maybe I need to go back to basic social class. But really, being socially intelligent is about balance, like knowing when to nod and smile politely, excuse me, and when to throw in a well-timed, I don't know what you're talking about, but I agree completely. So yeah, social intelligence is the art of being polite without overdoing it and managing to look like you totally know what's going on. What you doing, Bob?
Googling the term micro-expression.
Well, as you grow older, you learn to deeply value your time with genuine people who give you the same energy. No more holding on to those who constantly you feel like you have to impress or forcefully keep around because of your shared history.
Shared history, now that's a big chat right there.
Well, yeah, loads of people sometimes that's all they share. They share history. It's highly likely that one of you is going to grow in a different direction, and it can be tricky because you become aware that there are subjects you now seem to have to avoid simply because you don't share the same thoughts. One of you or both is keeping your real thoughts to yourself, and it's
exhausting.
Yeah, and ultimately it's a little bit boring.
I don't do boring.
In the end, with so many, all that remains is the shared history. 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 60 years ago. No more clinging to those that you don't trust. The ones who show you little regard for your well-being, even if they're family.
So what happens when you decide to stop worrying about what other people think of you?
Well, there's dancing, singing, you get to laugh loudly, there's painting, there's writing, there's whatever you really want to do.
Create?
Yeah.
There's so much.
And you know what? Some people won't like you that much, but it just won't bother you.
But what if it does bother you?
Well, Bob, if you don't like them anymore and they are negatively affecting your life, then you're bonded by a trauma, leaving you feeling miserable. You're still left with that step aside for a bit, and maybe it will mean stepping right away for all time. Anywho, everyone's story is different, and in the end, people always have a way of revealing who they are. You just have to give them space and time to do so, and no mask can be worn forever.
Oh, yeah, all right then.
Good, Bob. So, apparently, key components of social intelligence.
Numero uno.
Thanks, Bob.
All right.
Social awareness, the ability to pick up on the emotions, intentions, and social dynamics of others. It involves active listening, keen observation, and the skill to read body language and non-verbal communication. Not everyone can read a room, and it's so evident when, say, you get an unexpected visitor, maybe you're just about to eat, and there just isn't enough food to spare, you're starving, and you're standing around the table with your meal getting cold, and they insist on talking. You're tired, you're yawning, and they just keep on talking. Ability to read a room? I'd say not in this case. So let's talk a little bit about the social intelligence gap when people miss the mark.
Here we go.
Yes, the intricacies of human behaviour, Bob, the good, the bad, and often awkward.
Oh, yeah.
Today we're talking about something that many of us take for granted, but is absolutely crucial in our everyday interactions. Social intelligence. It's the ability to read the room, understand emotions, and navigate relationships with ease. And guess what? Not everyone has it.
I know, so true.
In fact, there are plenty of people who just don't get it. So let's look at a few examples of what happens when social intelligence goes completely off the rails.
Well, what about the overly honest friend?
Well, first up, we've all encountered that one person who thinks they're doing you a favour by being brutally honest. They have zero filter. It's like they've mistaken honesty for being socially acceptable.
Can you give an example?
Well, imagine you're at a party and your friend Sarah pulls you aside and says, "Wow, you look so tired. Are you okay? You've really let yourself go." Now, Sarah may think she's just being helpful, but here's the thing. There's a way to say that without causing a social disaster.
Gee, Sarah, a little tact, a little empathy there, love.
The key here is recognising that while honesty is important, it's also about timing, delivery, and context. The world doesn't need your every unfiltered thought. Social intelligence means knowing when to hold back and when to speak up. Then there's the
I'm just being direct
person. Next, we have the person who prides themselves on being direct, but it often comes off as rude or inconsiderate. Being direct can sometimes be a cover for not wanting to bother with social niceties.
Yeah, I know that type.
Yeah, so do I, Bob. So take this example. You're working with someone on a group project and they drop a line like, "Well, this idea is done. Why would we even think about doing that?" They're not wrong. Maybe the idea does need some tweaking, but the delivery, cringeworthy. Instead of finding a way to disagree politely, they've chosen to just steamroll the whole conversation.
God fathers.
This is a classic example of someone who hasn't developed the social intelligence to recognise that bluntness doesn't always serve the purpose. It's not about avoiding difficult conversations, but knowing how to make them constructive. And one of my favourites in terms of finding one of these in the wild is the conversation dominator. Here's a fun one.
Well, I like that, the conversation dominator.
You know, the person who talks at you and not with you. They may be well-intentioned, but they have no clue how to include others in the conversation. It's just all about them all the time.
Have you got an example?
Well, say you're at a dinner party and your friend Dorian starts telling you about his trip to Thailand. 15 minutes in, he's still talking. He hasn't asked you a single question about you, your day. You're nodding along politely, but inside you're screaming for him to take a breath.
The worst.
Dorian doesn't realise it, but he's missing the give and take of social interaction. Social intelligence involves awareness of how others are reacting, noticing when they're disengaged or losing interest. If you can't share the floor, you're not socially savvy. You're just dominating the airwaves.
I heard you talking about the emotional robot.
We do indeed, Bob, have the emotional robot, the person who has no clue how to navigate emotional cues. They might not pick up on the fact that you're upset, or they just ignore your feelings altogether. So yeah, imagine this, you've had a rough day and you tell your co-worker Alex, "Oh, I'm feeling a little bit down today." And Alex's response is, "Well, we all have bad days anyway. Did you see the game last night?" Wait, what? No empathy, no acknowledgement of your feelings. Alex just glosses over it as if emotional support isn't even on the radar.
Nice.
So people like Alex don't realise that when someone expresses vulnerability, it's an opportunity to show empathy. Instead, they either shut down the conversation, change the subject without regard for the other person's emotions. Social intelligence means reading those cues and responding accordingly.
I'm getting it now, but do carry on.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, no, tell me more.
Have you heard of the social phantom?
I'm gonna say no.
Well, last but not least, let's talk about the social phantom. This is the person who's so oblivious to social dynamics that they make you want to disappear. They can be right next to you and still manage to alienate you completely. Do you know what I mean, Bob?
No.
Well, say You're at a work event and your colleague Greg starts talking to you about an inside joke that you weren't a part of. Then he keeps going thinking that, you'll catch up, but it's clear you are out of the loop. Instead of acknowledging the awkwardness, he just keeps talking like you're in the know.
Another fun sort. I should have stayed at home today.
Well, you're here now, Bob. Greg has no clue that he's leaving you in the dust socially. Social intelligence isn't just about understanding your own feelings. It's about being aware of the social landscape and adjusting accordingly. If you're talking to someone who's lost, it's on you to either fill in the gaps or be aware that they're lost. Ignoring, that makes you the social phantom, a person who doesn't know how to adjust their behaviour based on others' responses. When someone lacks empathy and going too far and not listening to polite requests to stop. Empathy, the capacity to understand
and share your feelings with another.
Yeah. Empathy helps build deeper connections by making people feel seen, heard, and understood. It's a lovely feeling when that happens. And that is something now, isn't it, nowadays? How many people say that they're not being heard by a friend or by family? In the end, people always have a way of revealing who they are. You just have to give them a bit of time, as I said.
Oh, yeah.
The tools and behaviours used to interact harmoniously with others, such as verbal communication, negotiation, conflict resolution, persuasion. It got me thinking about lies that we're told. Be with someone who makes you happy.
Why is that a lie?
Because I think that the truth is happiness is something you create on your own. Be with someone who adds to it. Be around people who are dead set bonuses.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's what I reckon too, Bob, for sure. Knowing how to control one's own emotions, especially in stressful or challenging social contexts, this aspect of social intelligence helps prevent overreactions and encourages measured and thoughtful responses. As humans, we are hardwired to cope. Doesn't mean it's fun or pretty, certainly messy at times, but we do have it within us to get through all sorts of unexpected and unwanted crappy moments, right?
I got my paycheck and the envelope was full of parsley. Somebody garnished my wages.
The ability to build, nurture and maintain healthy relationships. This involves recognising when to offer support, when to step back, how to resolve conflicts in a way that strengthens bonds. But it can be a tricky balance, but it's doable. Great when it all falls into place.
Yeah.
Oversharing is how you leak the energy. Privacy is protection. Stop telling people more than what they need to know. We've all had those experiences where friendships have failed and had that overwhelming, awful sensation that they know so much about you, so much personal stuff.
So we learn.
Yeah, Bob. We do not have to tell every last detail of our lives. He said, she said, the less you reveal, the more people can wonder. Destruction is noisy when creation is quiet.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. The power of silence, growing quietly and living peacefully.
So why does social intelligence matter?
Social intelligence goes beyond academic intelligence or technical skills. It's what allows individuals to thrive in diverse social settings, build professional networks and foster positive personal relationships.
When I was a kid, I literally thought this little pig went to market meant it sort of went shopping.
Bob, I must confess, so did I. Social intelligence is not an inborn trait but can be developed over time. Strategies for enhancing social intelligence include practicing focusing entirely on the speaker without planning your response.
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
This shows respect and it helps you understand others more deeply. I have to say, regarding friendship, people that have many friends, really, they have many acquaintances. If you have one good friend, someone who you know wouldn't shaft you or lie to you, then you are a really rich person.
Oh, yeah, I'm rich, I know you.
That's right, Bob.
Be nice to your hairstylist because what's stopping them from plucking one of your hairs and putting it in a crime scene? Nothing.
Jeez, Bob.
Nothing, I say, nothing.
Observing body language. Pay attention to non-verbal cues such as facial expressions, posture and gestures to understand unspoken feelings. Expanding empathy, consciously put yourself in others' shoes, especially when you have different perspectives. Reflect on what might influence their feelings and actions and learning from experience. Reflect on past social interactions, considering what went well and what could have been improved. Use these reflections to fine-tune your approach in future scenarios.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, do you think I'm hot?
Yeah, you're hot, Bob. You're a hot Bob.
I know I'm not hot, but I also know I'm not a full-time hot person. I'm sort of hot when I want to be. I choose my own hours. I make my own schedule.
Man, well, I'm stoked for you, Bob.
Yeah, I do. I sort of do freelance hotness.
Good idea. So, some examples of social intelligence in action. In a workplace setting, a manager with high social intelligence can detect when a team member is feeling overwhelmed and can offer a support or adjust deadlines without the person needing to say a word. Obviously, that's, as I say, a manager with high social intelligence. And in personal relationships, a socially intelligent friend can sense when a companion is upset and can offer comfort without being intrusive. We do, don't we? It is so easy to detect, and I always want to at least let my friends know that I can see them and to feel free if they need to talk or not. People never hear your words, they hear your tone and they feel your energy.
People be like, bear with me, and I don't even have a bear with them.
Unbelievable, Bob. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
In essence, a social intelligence is about being attuned to the social fabric that connects people and using their understanding to communicate and act in a way that fosters positive outcomes. Now and then you get a treat where you're in the company of someone who has zero social skills and they are just it. That's just who they are. Unknowingly rude, like saying things, commenting on someone's weight or the wrong colour of lipstick. They don't like your hairstyle. They don't like how that person walks, and they themselves
haven't looked in the mirror for a while.
Well, I'm glad you said it, Bob. And people say, oh, they don't mean it. What a horror show to watch. And I've got to say, kind of interesting when you think, you really do exist. I have heard the stories.
The legend.
Yes, and here you are, here in full colour, saying exactly what they like.
Is it funny?
Well, in truth, I was an observer in this particular situation. It actually was amusing, and more amusing because I actually couldn't laugh openly.
What do you mean?
Well, you know how funny it is when you actually can't laugh?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, so it was a person totally lacking in social intelligence in the wild.
Where did this concept of social intelligence come from? Where did it first become something that we're now talking about?
Well, let's rewind for a moment.
Oh, no.
Yes, back to the beginning of human history. Social intelligence, like many aspects of our brain's evolution, is rooted in survival. Early humans lived in tight-knit communities, and the ability to cooperate, understand social cues, and build alliances was key to thriving and surviving. Imagine early human ancestors. They didn't have advanced tools or weapons, but what they had was their ability to communicate and form social bonds, and this was social intelligence in its most primal form.
Why can't dinosaurs clap their hands?
I don't know.
Because they're extinct.
And anthropologists believe that one of the key moments in human evolution was the development of what we call the social brain, our ability to process and manage complex social relationships. As early humans began to live in larger groups, being able to understand others' emotions, intentions, and actions became a matter of life and death. Social intelligence was no longer just useful, it was necessary.
Hey, what happened when the computer fell on the floor? It slipped a disc.
That sucked, Bob.
No, it didn't.
It did. Moving on. Think about the importance of recognising facial expressions when another tribe member looks angry or anxious. The social intelligence to read that emotional cue could protect you from danger. And I think that could be lacking in today's world with so much attention looking into screens, especially with young babies and toddlers and young children with their faces and screens or in front of TV a lot. They're missing learning such important recognition skills. This type of social awareness and understanding, though rudimentary, is early humans laid the foundation for what we'd later come to recognise as the concept of social intelligence.
What do you call a French man wearing sandals? Philippe Fallope.
Fast forward to the early 20th century.
Fast forwarding.
Social intelligence began to emerge as a special field of study, and one of the earliest pioneers in this area was the American psychologist Edward Thorndike in 1920. In fact, it was Thorndike who coined the term social intelligence when he defined it as the ability to understand and manage people and to act wisely in human relations. But despite this early definition, it wasn't until the 1980s that social intelligence began to be recognised as a more complex, multifaceted concept into the world of emotional intelligence, another major milestone in the development of social intelligence.
Geez, it was real history, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not a new concept by any means. So in 1983, psychologist Howard Gardner published his groundbreaking book, Frames of Mind, which introduced the idea of multiple intelligences, including what he called interpersonal intelligence, the ability to understand other people, their motivations, feelings, and desires. But it was the work of Daniel Goleman,
Daniel Goleman, there's a name.
particularly his 1995 book, Emotional Intelligence, that really brought the concept of social intelligence to the mainstream. Goleman argued that emotional intelligence, a subset of social intelligence, is just as important as IQ when it comes to personal and professional success. And suddenly, social intelligence was no longer just an academic idea. It was something that schools, workplaces, and even governments began to take seriously. And why it matters more than ever? Fast forward to today, and social intelligence has become a key focus in everything from leadership, training to personal development. In a world that is more interconnected than ever thanks to social media, global communication, and increased cultural diversity, social intelligence is becoming a critical skill. It's not just about reading facial expressions anymore, it's about understanding the nuances of online communication, navigating different cultural norms, and responding to complex ever-shifting social dynamics.
Oh, it's really complicated, isn't it?
I don't think so, Bob.
Yes, making me tired.
Think about the rise of social media influencers who often build their careers on their ability to connect with large audiences.
Oh, yeah, like me.
Yeah, just like you, Bob. Or think about companies investing in social intelligence training for their leaders. All of this points to how vital social intelligence has become in today's world. It's not just about getting along with others. Social intelligence now shapes how we lead, how we collaborate, and how we innovate in diverse environments. The future of work, education, even politics depends on people's ability to understand and manage the social landscape around them.
Well, it sounds good.
Well, I thought so, Bob. So to recap, social intelligence has deep evolutionary roots, but it's only in the past century that it has become sort of formally recognised as a key element of human development.
Did I tell you about the time I accidentally poured invisible ink on my girlfriend? Since then, I've stopped seeing her.
In a world that's constantly changing, where technological advancements can alter how we communicate and relate to one another, social intelligence will continue to be an essential skill, one that we can develop and refine throughout our lives.
Instead of water, I put Red Bull in the back of my coffee maker this morning. It's halfway to work before I realised I hadn't taken my car.
So, as we bring this episode to a close, we're quickly heading towards Christmas Day, 1 week out in fact, and I wanted to say this. Just because it's Christmas doesn't mean a toxic person stops being toxic. I know we've talked about this in other episodes. It's okay, it's more than okay, perfectly okay, in fact, to protect your peace, protect yourself, your friend, partner, your life, your beautiful kids. Myself, I've certainly come to realise that, just waiting to see what manipulation lies ahead or if it's just radio silence. Just a reminder and reassurance for you, for any of us that needs it. I have to love from afar, and that's it. Don't wait for the flying monkeys, the enablers to guilt you. You know the classic and worn out, oh, it's Christmas, a time to forgive and forget.
A time for new beginnings.
How about no? Zero social intelligence in any of that. The constant disrespect, the silence, the barking and maintaining of lies gets us all past wanting to deal with any of it. Here's a thought for them.
A fort?
Yeah,
A fort.
a thought, that's right. Here's a thought for them, the manipulators. How about you do some inner healing and then, get back to me, okay?
Okay.
So thanks for tuning into Jarrah Marble's weekly podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up for the algorithms, and leave us a review. And remember, the more we learn about ourselves and each other, the better we'll be at navigating this complex world. Until next time.
So it's farewell again?
Yes, Bob, it is, but we will be back next week.
Oh, yeah, goody.
So say good day to the family for me, give the bandy cobra a wink, and we'll see you next time, okay? Okay then, bye.